information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just forgot the name of it.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you have, I'm just moving it to public. Okay.
It shouldn't take you too long because you're the only one doing it today. Hello. Come on in, and I'm going to spend a few minutes going over the second assignment, and then give you some open lab time to finish it, both it and the first assignment. Yeah. So I need the SQL Server Management Studio. I'm also, something you can do, I don't know if you can see it here, most of you know this. I'm going to do it so I don't have to go look for it in the future. I'm going to pin the program to the taskbar, and then it'll always be there when I go to the desktop. The database we're going to use for the practices, you know, when I show you examples, will be Community Assist. This will be with the map. Do a new query. Okay. And probably the thing you should always do, and whatever database you're going to use, it's not enough to run that. You need to execute it. Okay. So, did I spell it wrong? Oh, I did. I spelled it wrong. Community. Seems really quiet, like there's a, we should do something to amp up the, okay, so your base that you want. Again, there are ways to do this graphically. You could just use just sort of offset it up at the top there. But that's almost everything with SQL. I said this stuff is fairly, the tables are actually harder than the select assignment, and it's stuff that you've probably done before. So I've talked about, you know, select. I'm just going to return every from employee. Actually, there's a, let's do it from person. Okay. So the asterisk is a wild card. Is it not going in there? What does it say? Fail to connect to the host.
The right password.
Is this one within the, or is it the virtual machine itself?
It started, the machine got started, that must be the host machine. I would hit cancel.
Yeah.
You grayed out because you're in suspend mode, right? Once you go up there and look at saying that.
This is what comes up.
Oh. You connect people.
That's weird.
That's the issue.
You should have the user. You should have rights. Let me try another one. That is very weird.
You all set?
I don't know if this will work. I wonder if this is the problem. Let's done. So we do this. There we go. I think you might have had this highlighting as shared VMs, and it's not shared. I think that may have been a problem. Hopefully that'll come up okay. Couple of things I want to say about the asterisk here. One, it's a wildcard that returns everything. That means that you have no control over which columns or what order they're in. That may not matter. This is a real quick and dirty way to get up everything in the table. But I just want to advise you, this is not a good idea when you're in a programming environment because you don't necessarily know what you're going to get back. To just do a wildcard and bring it up. You should, if you're doing it like in PHP or C# or something where you're programming from an application or a web page, you should always specify the column names that you want. But when you're just looking, like to see what's in the table, this is a quick and dirty way to do that. Any questions on? Also, I'm going to try to remember to do semicolons. The SQL his first name. And the from is always the table name, from person. Okay. Naming your columns is not only can you select which columns you want to see, you can select the order. So even though in the table it's last name, first name, you can do first name, last name. So it'll return them in the order, whatever the underlying table is. Does that make sense? Questions on that at all? Oh, I don't think that the book does it until later. So first name, if you wanted to change the names of the columns, I'm going to put an as in there. You don't have to have the as in there. In this case, you have to have nobody. A couple of things. Is the same effect. Double quotes or square brackets. I'm using square brackets. Usually, we'll see in SQL Server. I am the character or percent. It's underscores. I usually don't. But no. mass where there's victories at this point. Keyword. And just the things that I saw in the list. Add one more thing. Person, man, guy, is person, last. When I do that, notice that they're all alphabetical by last name now. So order by is how you sort. Does that make sense? You guys stop me whenever I don't. I'm assuming a lot of this stuff is familiar, but I may be wrong. How would you reverse that sort? Yeah, so you want DESC, which is descend. Now, there is actually an ascend, ASC, but you never have to use it because that's always the default. Right, so it's always the default that you do for ascend. So now they're in back, the reverse order. I'm going to do a comma and do first person first name. Okay. When I do this, what order will first name be in? So the primary sort will be last name, but if you have two first names, two people with the same last name but different first names, what order will they be in? They'll be ascending, right? So let's see if I can find two first names that are the same. Tanner, yeah. So Tanner, there's three of them. And notice that these are still C and T. These are still in regular alphabetical order. The descend doesn't apply. It only applies to the word that it's immediately after. If I wanted these to be descending, I would also have to put DESC on those. Does that make sense? Either it makes real sense or you guys are confused. Yeah. All right. And you can have as many sort orders you want, but it always is left to right. This is the primary sort. This is the secondary sort. The next is the third level sort. Sometimes that makes sense. Sometimes you want to sort primary sort by year, secondary sort by month, maybe a tertiary sort by day. You know. Right. Okay. As I said, I'm just trying to go through the stuff. You should have. Oh, I'm scrolled down, I think. So I was scrolling until I found some duplicate names. Now we should have the same data because I'm pretty sure that, and there's some garbage data in Community Assist because I'm pretty sure that what I did is I copied my virtual machine back up like last quarter. So any questions about the select? Basically, and again, I'm not real good at doing semicolons. Basics of the select are select either an asterisk or the column names, and then from, and then the table that you want. Onto that, you can add an order by, and we're going to add another clause there, which is where. So you probably, as I said, most of you have done some of these. Is there anybody that hasn't, that's never done any of this? I'm only no, but just because if it's new to you, I won't go so fast.
This is about the level of what I've done.
Yeah,
I know the where command.
right. Yeah, I mean this is stuff that if you did the 220, you've done some, and if you've ever done like the PHP, so something like this, you have to start. I mean, it's the beginning stuff. I mean, you don't want to start where like. So I am going to, and again, I'm just for speed, I'm going to do select star from, and in this database, all the addresses are in-person address. And I'm going to add a where address, or I forget what the, first thing I'm going to do is select star from person address. Part of all of what's in there. So where city equals, let's do something not Seattle. How about Kent? City equals Kent. So a couple of things about this. So this is using a string literal as a criteria. Where is used for get-in criteria. City is the name of the column. Equals, and we're saying we're looking for a literal match. In SQL Server, this isn't true of all relational databases, but all string criteria is in single quotes. It'll drive you nuts. If you put double quotes in there, you'll get an error. It's always single quotes. I'll show you the error with double quotes in just a second. Let's just first show that this works. Okay. So I have 3 people in Kent. I'm just trying to think when do I go to Kent? I think the only thing I go, they have an IMAX 3D theater. I go there sometimes for that.
Then how would you just exclude Seattle?
All right, so that's actually a good question. And I was going there next. So let's say you want everybody that's not in Seattle. So I'm going to do basically, I think I copied it, right? I'm going to do everything except here I'm going to say where, and this is a bit weird because the not should come before that. Where's not city equal Seattle.
There's not a not equal sign.
You actually can. All right, so let's copy this.
I mean, that seems more intuitive where we're at right now.
So this is standard. This is actually standard SQL. This is ANSI standard. This is not ANSI standard. However, it works in SQL Server.
Oh. So not is actual standard?
Not, the word not is the actual standard.
So it's probably the better habit.
Yeah. This won't work everywhere. Some databases, management systems implement it and some don't. They all implement this. Some of them do this. It's not illegal to implement things that aren't in the standard. You can add to the standard. So one of the things that Microsoft did is that you can use the not equal. You can also use, and again, this is not ANSI standard. If you're more of a Visual Basic kind of person and you're used to doing something like this, that also will work. So again, it depends on where. I'm going to posthumous. Again, in other environments, the semicolons are necessary. And sometimes times an SQL server they're necessary. There are certain kinds of commands where you're combining a batch where it requires a semicolon. We aren't going to get there for long, but they're so these two work in SQL Server, but they're not necessarily guaranteed. It's not uncommon that you need to find something that's not. I mean, everything, something. And you could also, all right, so you've got Bellevue, Shoreline. There's not a lot of people not in Seattle in this. Yeah. I think but it left, but it actually wrote nothing, but it still wrote.
So if you were doing a cleanup and you wanted to.
Then you would want to delete.
Null factor to the.
Right, except I don't see a null there. I think it's an. Let's say, I think if I do, and we're going to look for nulls. But I think if there's not a. Yes, you would. You'd want to clean that up. So apartment is null, but we don't want to just do apartments. Where say we're street. Equal. Just two quotes. Does that work? Got me those two empty ones, but I'm not sure it got me all the empty ones. And if I put a space in there, I get, was it the same ones? Mm-hmm. An empty space will work for that. Those kinds of things shouldn't happen. They can happen when you're doing tests. You want to find a null. Do you got, let's say we're if you wanted to find there, how would you do that? Does anybody remember from 220?
Yes.
Right. The thing about nulls is that you can't, right? Because a null is a non-value. It can't be compared. It's an unknown, right? So you can't say that it's greater than, less than, or equal. So they have the keyword is. It's an existential state, nullness. So if you want to find our word, which with nulls, you do is null. Exactly. So if you want to see only the people that have apartments numbers, just add a not. And it will exclude the nulls. Nulls are really important. If you have a field with an unknown value. In an early database, didn't allow nulls a lot of times, just the way they coded it, particularly if it was like fixed width kinds of things. So they would put in, basically what they would do is they put in a value that was obviously out of bounds, or that obviously didn't make sense. And then you could do a query to exclude those, and then do your analysis on what's left. So typically, like I think I mentioned before in the NOAA's weather data, when they don't know a value, like the temperature for the day, they'll just put 999. Because nobody ever had a temperature of 999 degrees on this planet. Yeah.
I have a question. What if we need to select based on several criteria?
Let's say we want people that have apartments numbers but are not in Seattle, or that are in Seattle. Which one do you prefer? You can do and. Do we want equal Seattle or not Seattle?
Sure, equals, yeah.
Okay.
So we don't have to where anymore.
No, in fact, it will only allow you to do where once.
Okay.
So let's do that one, and then so it'll limit it to Seattle. Let's do add one more criteria and say or city equals so do you guys know the Booleans and or? Okay, they behave the same. If I said and here, it wouldn't object, but I would get nothing back because nobody has both the city, Bellevue, and Seattle. But if I say or, it will return everybody in Seattle and also everybody in Bellevue. Or is inclusive and is exclusive. So
We can add as many ors as we want.
you can add as many ors and ands as you want. It's up to you to keep track of how they make sense or not. But you can only have one where. Okay, only one where clause. You can only use the word keyword where once. And then you can have as many ands and ors as makes sense. And you can put nots in there too. Right? This would be a bit weird though. If I say and city equals Seattle or city not equal Bellevue, then it would return everything except all Seattle and everything except Bellevue. So it'd be a way of excluding Bellevue if I put the not there. I think we should run that to see. Questions? Other questions?
Can you scroll down there for a second?
Where?
Scroll down your data.
Sure. Did I run
You
it?
got a null there, right?
Yeah, but I didn't ask. Oh, so where apartment is, but I said or.
And
So I said and city equals Seattle, all right? Or city equals Bellevue, and that or is or for this null too. So the fact that it's in Bellevue, all the instances of Bellevue will be put there, whether they're null or not. Actually, it's a good
so
idea.
you need to put parentheses around the two cities based on what I originally thought you were doing. If you don't want that null to show up.
Yeah, I don't know if parentheses would do anything.
Apartment is not null and no, not there. After
Oh, and city
and city,
equals Seattle.
right? Or Bellevue.
Can't just say or Bellevue.
You can't?
No, you have to say or city equal.
I mean, or city equal. Yeah, that's what I mean. If you put parentheses around the two cities, then you would lose those null apartments in Bellevue, right?
So if you do a parentheses here and here.
No, before the end.
I put a parenthesis
After the end, I mean.
before city equals Seattle
And after Bellevue?
and after Bellevue.
Yeah.
And that excludes the null for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look. That's on record 74. Yes, you're right.
So right now we have 53 rows. We do that. We have.
I have 51 rows. We excluded 2.
So the parentheses make the and inclusive
Well,
or the or inclusive?
so what it does is it combines these as one condition. And so the is not null applies to both of these.
Okay.
This selects the cities, and this kind of deselects the nulls.
Okay, I see.
It's kind of, I mean, you can do parentheses. That actually is a good, I never played with that much before, but yeah.
Yeah, if it makes more sense visually to put city equals Seattle or city equals Bellevue on the same line,
You certainly can.
sentence wise, I mean, just in terms of how the sentence then in your head, if you think this is a language.
One of the things
Apartment
that,
is not null and one of these two conditions is met.
Right. So
Right.
basically you're getting all apartments in just Seattle or Bellevue.
right,
And before we were getting
we were getting
All
all apartments in.
and all of
We were getting
all
only the
apartments in
in
Seattle
but
and everything in
from
Bellevue.
Bellevue. Yeah. As you can see, the criteria can get subtle. And you had a good eye there. You saw the
Well, I
null.
saw it on my screen because it
Yeah.
was yellow. It didn't show up there. That's why I said, asked you to scroll down. I thought it was, didn't know if it was me or.
No. I want to do one other, and I'm not sure what table I want. Actually, let's do, I want to show a couple of other criteria. I'm going to do a quick select star from service grant. And I need the word from. And the reason I need to look at the table, whoops. Cancel. I hit the wrong button. All right. I just want to see what's in there. I want to show you a little bit about numeric values and dates. All right. So there's some money in here. There's a couple of different dates. There's a grant review date and there's a grant date. So just real quick, let's do money and numbers are fairly easy. So I'm going to say where grant amount, which is actually my naming in here really sucks. The grant amount is the amount they're requesting. And then down at the other end, there's a approval. And then the grant allocation is the amount that's actually approved. So the grant allocation, it can be less than the grant amount, which is what they're asking. So as I said, my naming conventions suck. I've wanted to go through and rename things in here, and I should. But anyway, let's say that the grant amount is greater than, I see some 300s and 2, and so let's say greater than 200. Okay, so a couple of things about that. There's 55 of them greater than that. You don't have to put numbers in single quotes. You know, you can just use the number raw like that when you're doing little. And you can do all the comparatives, greater than, less than, equal to, greater than or equal to. So if I wanted to, nothing in here should be 200. If I wanted to say, let's go up a bit. Let's say greater than, equal to 500. Okay. So all those operators work with numbers. They do not work with text.
So we could put grant allocate, where grant amount is greater than grant allocation. And that would be
Yes, you
the
could.
metrics that you were talking about.
Right. So if we want to do, let's do that. We could do where grant amount greater than grant allocation. And that would show you the ones where, and actually since we're doing that, let's just do grant key, grant amount, grant allocation. Okay. So there are 15 rows where the amount allocated is less than the amount requested. Including a few zeros.
They didn't get the grant.
Yes. There's a table in there where there's a grant review, so every grant is reviewed, and then there's actually an XML file with their analysis and why, whether to give it all or not. What? Community assist, yeah. So any questions on numeric amounts? Let's do dates. So again, or not grant amount, service grant. So these are the ways that it enters a date. And it also, this is a date time field, but you can do, notice it has the year, the month, the day, and then it has the time. Now, there are date fields where it's just the date, and there are time fields where it's just the time. But this is a date time field. But you don't have to ask for all of it. So let's do select from service grant where grant date between, and this is the perfect part of what I want to show you here is the between operator. Between 1, what year was it, 2013? And 8, say 30. I'm not sure, were there, how many days are in? 31?
It still wouldn't include 31 though, right? You have to go 9/1.
No, it actually is inclusive of the
It is
ends.
inclusive of the
Yes.
Because it says between.
I know,
That's-
but it is inclusive of both ends. And no, we should have, so there's, actually that's when most of these were done. Should pick out a different date. But it actually goes between those dates. And notice I didn't have to enter the date in the same way that it's here. I could enter it this way. I could also do dashes instead of the slashes if I want. And I didn't have to enter the time to get the match. I only had to enter the date. And if you were looking for the time, you could search just the time. Does that make sense? It's pretty good at evaluating that. Let's do, I'm curious, let's do a different month.
So there's a difference between.
So the only other month is 9.
Yeah, so there's 87, 89, and 72.
Yeah, so there's 9, and 9 only goes to 11. But we could do, I'm just going to change this to 9/1. Actually, let's make it 9/11 just to show that it goes, it includes. So it gives us 9 rows, and it includes, did it not include the 11?
Yeah, because
Between should be inclusive of its ends. That's what I've
I got
always,
9 records. Did you get 9 records?
I got 9 records too, but what if I go to 12?
Should actually go. Doesn't prove anything because there's no 12.
Yeah, but there are 11s, and it should have included that.
So I got 13 rows when I put it in.
Yeah, it's supposed to be inclusive of its ends. Everything I've ever read said it includes its ends.
Is 9/1 included?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there's no 9/1 though, right?
No, there are some 9/1s. 01, 01, 01.
Oh yeah, I see.
But it should have included the 11. I'm going to have to look at that again. I wonder if they changed it, because they've always said that it was inclusive of its ends.
That'd be a crazy change, right?
Yes, it would.
Because
Particularly if they didn't announce it in big red letters somewhere. But the between is really useful, especially with dates. But you can do it with any kind of numeric value, where you can search for a range. You can also do the same thing by saying greater than and less than, right? So you could do this. You could say greater than 9/1/2013 and grant date less than, and that would also work. The less than and greater than could be applied to dates. If you think about dates, underneath they are just integers. They just choose an arbitrary day to start counting. And all the days after that are just added to it, and all the days before that are just negative with that. Okay, I think there's,
less than or greater than, it would not be inclusive.
it would not be inclusive, although you could do less than great equal to. But this didn't behave inclusively. So I need to check on that because I've always said that it was inclusive of its ends. Not much more to show here. A couple things I want to show that are in the assignment. And then I'm going to give you, as I said, the last hour at least to work. I wanted to show you like. We're going to go back to person. So I'm going to do select last name from person where last name like, and I'm just going to, what do we want to start it with? We'll just do it with an S. Okay, and it's person last name. Okay, and I'll break the line. One of the things I think, did I say this? I don't remember what I said. White space doesn't matter, and you can break the line wherever makes sense to you, right, for readability. Typically, although I'm not doing it here, depending on the complexity, I'll often break it on the keyword, but you can break it wherever you want. Or not break it at all if that's how you prefer it. Now, the like keyword looks for patterns, okay? The percent sign here is a wildcard saying anything that follows the yes, right? There's another wildcard, which is an underscore, and that's looking for a single character, right? So this will return everybody whose last name starts with S. I'm just looking at this. I see Sanders there. And there's Stevens. If I did S percent sign S, that would be everything that starts with S and ends with S. They have to do both. So there's a couple of names in here that do that. So Sanders and Stevens. Okay. I don't know if an underscore. Let's look at these names again. I don't think I have any names that are distinguished so slightly. One of the things you could do is you could do, let's look for just names that have two N's in them. You could do percent NN percent. Oops. That's because I only ran where, sorry. So all of these have two N's in them. I'm going to put I'm just trying to think. I wanted to do another one. So let's do underscore. So that's an underscore. ANNER, and then we'll do an underscore at the end. So underscore stands for one character. I think that'll give me a few people. So basically, one character before A and one character after. So like Tanners, Manners. It should give us.
Just to go back to the previous query, what if we wanted to do a date time in that
It actually won't work. Oh, time.
I'm selecting star from service grant with grant date is between this date and that's why we don't see the vibes. I mean, and because it's saying anything, the actual grant date is a time, a day and a time.
So we're
And when we say just the date, we're just talking about midnight, of that date.
so it was 2013. I'm gonna do it.
Are you going to do both of them?
Yeah, I'm gonna do the time. Oh no, and then I'm going to do like 50, 44. No, order, but notice that there's a lot of these that are at the same time and the same date because I did them all in a loop. So it's 15:44. Colon. Know that I have to go out the last 4, but and then let's time. So 2013.
Yeah.
08. It worked.
So I just cut and paste,
Actually, that's a smarter way to do it. Yeah.
9, from September 1st, I went to September 5th at 2 o'clock. And I got the ones that were before 2 o'clock, but there's some that are after the end.
Okay.
So I suspect if we don't put the time, it's assuming that 00, which means nothing in 5 will show up, right?
Yeah, that makes sense actually.
Which is what I just did.
The time
So
is
you leave
what
the first one the same, and you put you just cut and paste September 5th with one of the times as the end date. Then it will show all those records
So
until that.
Inclusive of the end.
It is.
But because of the time, it was excluding. Actually,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
and I'm not sure I will play with that, but I believe you. That actually makes good sense. No, actually, that's really good. Because I knew it was exclusive of the end. I wasn't counting the date, the time in there.
Yeah.
And it will work with just the dates, but I think you're right. It assumes if you
Since there's
don't
no
enter a
time,
time, it's
it's
0,
0,
0,
0.
0. Yeah. That makes good sense.
So actually, if you wanted the date, you would just put the no. You wouldn't get anything but.
Yeah, makes good sense. Couple of things I want to mention about the law. So single percent sign is for any. It's a very inefficient query. If you have a reset, it could take hours to do that. So it's not the way. There actually are other tools of viewing patterns and words are which will give you much more power and control. So like works if you're looking for a pattern in a smaller data set, but when you get into a larger data set, it's very inefficient. Just to let you know. But as I said, sometimes it can be good, especially if you remember that the name was like something. And it like only work at types. It doesn't work worse. like the cake.
So if you were trying to debug something, you might use this. Like you want to,
You
but
could.
you wouldn't want to put this into production.
No, because
Regular
it's
query, right?
just too slow because of the way it has to process it.
It has to keep going
Yeah.
like this, right?
It has to match every character in every field. So imagine doing that for 1 billion fields, you know. So I'm going to do just a couple more done. One of them I want to select grant amount. And I'm going to add one. I'm going to top, and we'll just do grant amount from service to grant. And I'm going to order it by grant. It takes 10 rows, whatever they are. So if you don't order it, you just by just sending. These would be the biggest grants, the top 10 biggest grants. Okay. But the only reason that they're the biggest grants is I ordered the table.
Right.
Does that make sense? And you can do it if you want it. And notice it doesn't distinguish between duplicates. It added, yeah.
Does it matter which order you put the commands in?
Yes, it does. It won't order. One of the things about SQL is a declarative language. It doesn't do things in the order you write it. The very first thing it does is it locates service grant. Pulls all that data into a temp table. Then it does the order by. And then the last thing it does is select.
So if you don't have the order by, what is it?
Top 10, whatever the first 10 rows are.
Okay.
It just won't mean anything. Order at the table, it really doesn't mean anything. It's just you're skimming the top 10 rows off.
I guess what I was wondering, it would be an odd query, but would it be possible in some way to just take the first 10 rows and then order those first 10 rows?
Although I think you'd have to do a subquery to do that, which we will do some subqueries. But I can't think of a way in this, without a subquery to do that. Almost everything is possible. Some of them take some fairly labyrinth ways, but and again, you don't have to do top 10. We could do top 5. Okay. You can also do, there's another keyword, and this is the last keyword I was going to think. You guys remember distinct at all? So we have a duplicate at the top here. Distinct, it removes duplicate rows. Notice that the second 1200 is gone. The thing to know about distinct is it doesn't remove duplicate columns, it removes duplicate rows. So if there's anything unique in the row, it will, it'll still show it, even if the value that you were trying to remove is the same. Right? So it doesn't remove duplicate values, it removes duplicate rows. There's one other thing that you can do here, and this I almost never do, but it's in the book, and I said to do it. I'm going to look to make sure I get the syntax right. I'm going to offset, and so how far do we want to offset? So what offset is basically, we want the top 5, but like maybe we want the top, not the top 5, but the 5 before the top 5. So let's say offset 5, so it'll eliminate these 5. And we can say how many, so offset 5 rows. How many rows do we want to return? So I don't know, did they use top with this? They weren't using top. Let's just return 5 rows. And actually what I'm going to do, because I don't think you can do the top with this. I think they're two separate kinds of things. And then there's one more keyword here, only. And why is it not liking that? Oh, next. Not return. Fetch next. All right. So it's going to return 5 rows, but it's going to be offset from this. So 675 is our current high value. This should come in under that. So it comes in at 600. By offsetting it 5 rows, what it means is that those top 5 rows, we ignored them, and we started 5 rows down. Right? We could have offset by any number, and we could have returned any number of rows. This is just a different syntax in the top. Right? So you can do an offset if you wanted to remove something from the middle. There are some, for statistical reasons, you might just want to return a sample from the middle of the set or something. Does that make sense? It's amazing these are just simple selects, but you can get quite a bit of power, from these too. Now again, I got duplicates again. It ignored the distinct.
5 cents off now.
Oh, are they 5 cents? Ah, they are. They're 5 cents off. I was just looking at the 5.5. So it did get duplicates. It did go away, get rid of duplicates. In fact, these are all pretty close, but yeah, you guys have good eyes. I tend to look at them real quickly because I'm glancing out there. So I think this is all for I'm going to give you an hour. I know most of you are still working on the tables, and that's fine. If you need help, ask me. I will put this up on the blog so you can have these samples. And you can work on, if you finish the tables, you can work on this too. Is Monday the holiday?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That doesn't affect us though. So
What are the holidays this quarter?
I think Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which is Monday, and what President's Day. They both should probably they will both affect Monday. So this class is actually immune to the holidays. It's the Monday, Wednesday class that gets hit essentially a whole week, which I'll have to.
It's really too bad because this class is going to make me wake up earlier. What is with you and having early classes?
I don't consider 10 to be that early.
I consider waking up at 8 to be very early.
I leave home at 6:30.
Yeah,
So
that's like back when I was in high school.
yeah,
I hated that.
I hate 8 o'clock classes. To me, 10 is a decent time to have a class. It's good for you one day or twice a week or so. I used to be more of a night person, but over the years I've evolved into a morning person out of necessity. Even on the weekends, I sleep in till 7. Yeah. That's the other thing that's gone away with age. Parties. All right. Call me over if you have questions, I'm going to paste this onto the blog. I'm going to stop. There's also a video, I believe. Sure, I'll be right there.
When you